Hey guys, how's it going? This is the Bald Metal Nerd. Since I just finished talking about Megadeth's discography, and I did Metallica's discography some months ago, I thought it might be fun to talk about something fairly unoriginal, but you already know what I'm talking about due to the video's title, and that, of course, maybe doing a Metallica versus Megadeth comparison. Oh, something that's never been done. I kid, of course. Now, I did some looking on YouTube, and there seems to be a shitload of comparison videos, but they're mostly just people playing snippets of their music and saying, see, X is better than Y, without giving any actual explanation. Now, there are a few where people actually give their opinions and reasons, but mostly it's just the music snippets. Now, I'll start with the pros and cons of Metallica. First off, Metallica's pros. Their influence and impact on the metal scene. Wow. I mean, there are only a few bands that have had as much impact as Metallica has had in metal. And those would be Black Sabbath, Judas Priest, and Iron Maiden. No other band other than those has had the impact on metal that Metallica's had. Now, of course, there have been a metric fuck ton of influential and awesome metal bands, but very few have had the impact that Metallica has had. Now, due to the modern music industry, we'll probably never have another Metallica. And by that, I mean we'll never have a metal band that sells that many albums, becomes that huge and influential, and is universally loved by metalheads. And I think the reason for that is just due to fragmentation, due to the internet. We don't have as many shared experiences as we used to have. I could be wrong, but I just don't think there will ever be another band like Metallica again. Now, the next pro is the quality of their early work. Now, their early albums are easily some of the best metal ever produced. Although the same could be said of Megadeth's early albums as well. The next point I'm going to make is both a pro and a con. Metallica is willing to do batshit crazy things, and they don't care if people like it or not. Now, it worked great when what they were doing was groundbreaking metal. It didn't work out so well when they produced Saint Anger and Lulu. They definitely experiment. It just often doesn't have the best results, which leads me to a con. It seems after the Black Album, way back in '91, they got off track and haven't been the same since. That's, 24 years now. I mean, they've tried a few different sounds. They've tried bluesy hard rock with the Loads, to put it charitably, simplified songs with Saint Anger, and then with Death Magnetic, they tried to recreate the old days. Now, while Death Magnetic is a solid album, it's still uninspired by the standards of their early work. Now, I don't know if you guys have listened to their latest song. It's called The Lords of Summer. If not, I have, and all I can say is it's okay. It seems to be roughly in the vein of Death Magnetic. It's solid, but it didn't excite the hell out of me either. To be completely honest, despite how much I love Metallica's early material, and how important they were to me becoming a metalhead, and how important they are to metal overall, I would not be upset in the slightest if they retired, or just simply stopped recording new music and just played live. As I don't think they had the inspiration that they did. Now, I hope they prove me wrong by releasing an incredible new album. But honestly, I'd be really shocked if they did. It's been 24 years since they put out a good album. If they do now, it'll probably about kill me with shock. Now, it's time to talk about Megadeth. Now, Megadeth pros. The technicality of their playing. Yes, I know Megadeth is not the #1 most technical band ever, but they are more technical than a lot of bands out there, and they were extremely important in popularizing technicality in metal. In addition to being an incredibly talented musician, Mustaine can write incredible songs. A lot of technical players Well, they write somewhat boring stuff, but a lot of what a Mustaine writes is great. And another problem, the quality of their early work. Yes, I know I said the same thing about Metallica, but I feel Megadeth's early albums are every bit as good as Metallica's early albums. The next point I'm going to make about Megadeth could be a pro or a con, depending on the side of the fence you're on. Dave Mustaine has a very unique singing voice, and most people either love it or hate it. Personally, I like it, and I think it fits the music well, but there are a lot of people who don't like it. The next pro or con I'll say that Megadeth has is when they experiment, they tend to produce bland, tepid material. They don't do batshit crazy stuff like Metallica does, so if they fail, they don't fail as hard. So is it better to produce mediocrity or something that's truly awful? I guess that's a tough call depending on how you look at it. And the third pro and con is they have produced a lot more albums than Metallica has, nearly double the number overall. So obviously, this has led to some really great albums and to some not so great albums. So again, it's a double-edged sword. Remember what I said about not caring if Metallica retired at this point? I don't quite feel the same way about Megadeth. Now, if they announced their retirement, I wouldn't be highly disappointed, but I would be somewhat disappointed because you know they have released great albums this century at least, unlike another band I could name. Also, I think Megadeth is the more likely of the two bands to release an awesome album at this point. Of course, I could very easily be proven wrong. You know, their next album could be a complete piece of crap. And, you know, just for fun, I averaged all the scores from both Metallica's and Megadeth's original albums. You know, and in Excel. And for my scores, Metallica averaged like a 73.9 and Megadeth averaged a 76.25, which is a slightly higher number. And of course, I would say that the numbers actually do correctly reflect my feelings about these two bands. I think both of the bands are good, and I do slightly prefer Megadeth. Just slightly. Just for the reasons I mentioned, I feel Megadeth is still a more vital band than Metallica now. You know, and of course, I'm talking now in modern times. If I have to say which band do I prefer to all time, that's tough. I'd say, honestly, they're probably even. But here in the modern era, I do think Megadeth is better than Metallica. So what do you guys think? You know, let me know in the comments below. And if you do, please don't say things like Metallica or Megadeth blows ass and sucks dick and the other band is so much fucking better, blah, blah, blah. Because that just isn't true. Both bands have their merits and their drawbacks, and both bands will either release something great or mediocre next. It's impossible to say for sure. But I will say one thing. If both bands release mediocre stuff on their next albums, please, for the love of God, retire. Just stop. No more. No more. Anyways, if you guys did like what you see, please thumbs up, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.